Hey, everybody, this is Toby Eunice with New Mexico Day Trips. Thanks for joining me tonight. My business, whoops, I got to turn that down right there so you don't get confused. So I don't get confused. So, as you can see, my business partner and best friend is not sitting next to me tonight. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Shelley had a planned operation on Monday. She was released from the hospital on Tuesday evening, and we decided that it was best for her. I say we in the royal sense, but that we decided it was best for her to uh, relax for, I don't know, however long it takes to get her comfortable again. She is in the chat room tonight, so if you want to say something nice to her, you can say something nice to her in the chat room. Her best wishes, of course, are always appreciated. We're looking forward to a speedy recovery, and I look forward to not only having her back here in the studio with me, but together again to do some of the videos that we plan to do for New Mexico Day Trips, one of which we're going to share with you tonight. And you know what? I didn't get on that video, so let me get that over here and open that up so that you guys can watch it too. New Mexico Day Trips. Just give me a second because I need to make a couple of changes first. So we're going to watch that, and I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to pause it right there. Oh, it doesn't want to pause. Drives me crazy. Okay, so there's that. Oh, dang, Nebula. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So it's in the right place, and I want to make sure we share that. There's one other thing that I have to do that I didn't do in the settings. You know, this is what's amazing. Without Shelley here, I forget all this all this other stuff that I got to do. So give me a second because I have to. No, it's when I share screen. Okay, so we're going to share screen, and we're going to share that screen, and we're going to share system audio. There we go. All right. I hope that works. So yeah. So again, thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight's show is tonight's New Mexico day trip show was a day trip that we took last Sunday, and we took a day trip to the IATSE 480 annual Film and Media Expo. And what was interesting, of course, is we haven't been to a film and media expo since the beginning of the pandemic. So it's been offline for at least 2 years, maybe a third in 2020 or 2019 rather. And it used to take place at the New Mexico State Capitol, and I think that's the reason they kind of delayed it through the pandemic, because it did take place indoors. Fortunately, two things happened. Well, they started doing it again, but they moved it out of Santa Fe to Albuquerque, and they moved it into the open air. Now, the problem with moving it into the open air, of course, is that you risk getting rained on. The day that we had was just August, New Mexico, beautiful, uh, blue skies and puffy clouds and no rain. And what was even better about it is we ran into a lot of our friends that we hadn't seen for years. So we spent longer there than we expected to, but I think primarily that was the result of bumping into people who we knew and having conversations with, and just saying hello to a lot of people we haven't seen for a while in the film community that we were so much a part of between 2012 and 2017. When we started live streaming, and then we got less busy with the film community. Shelley hosted a show, or produced a show called New Mexico Media Makers that was based on interviews done with the folks in the film community, and she did 13 episodes of that. So people knew us not only because we were participating in film competitions. Shelley was a producer on the 48-hour film festival, and so we participated in that. We used to write scripts for competition. We actually won a competition with one of our scripts, and we used to produce narrative films just because we liked producing narrative films. And I'll probably share some of those with you, not tonight because I hadn't planned on it, but we did a lot of that, and we're very excited about it. So again, our day trip consisted of going to the IATSE 480. Now, IATSE 480 is the local film union. And what I mean by local is It's the New Mexico State Film Union. They can't call it that. IATSE, International Associations of, I can't remember what it stands for. International Association of S I I I C. I'm sure Shelley knows. She can type it in the chat room if she remembers. But it's the union that represents all the people that are in the film industry here in New Mexico, and it represents at various levels. There are businesses that support the film industry. There are individuals that are what I would call the worker bees in the film industry, and then there are actors associated. So these three layers that make up the film industry in New Mexico. On the outside of that, of course, there's the New Mexico state government, which benefits from the taxes that they collect from the film industry. And then outside of that is the film industry in a greater sense, the production companies and the filmmakers and the directors, et cetera. So when they come to New Mexico, they not only contact the state of New Mexico because the state of New Mexico has a film office, the Albuquerque has a film office, all the cities, all the big cities in New Mexico have their own film office so that when a film comes into town, that's who they talk with right away. And then the second, so there's state, there's cities, and then there's IATSE 480, which is the labor union and which will provide all the labor under the union contracts. And that benefits the film industry because it's predictable. And it benefits the people in New Mexico because it's predictable for them too, that when they go to work, they're going to get a standard rate as agreed to by the union and the people who are using those union members. So it's a good way to do things. And one thing I know about film unions or film industry unions is they have lasted forever. My nephew Santos belongs to a film union in New York City, which is one of the toughest ones to get into. But he's a full-fledged member of the film union in New York City. So God bless him. All right. So the way that I'm going to do this tonight. So I did get an email from someone, and I promised I was going to stop using "so" in front of my sentences. Let me see. So, rats. So this is going to be hard. The email I received, and I can't find it right now, but what they basically said, they didn't want me to use their name. What they basically said is that we have spent a lot of time making documentary style shorts on all our YouTube channels. You can see it on our old A Gypsy's Kiss channel. You can see it on our Video Tarot channel, things like that. And what they said was that although we've shared a lot of information about how we live stream, the tools and techniques that we use to live stream, we've never talked about what we do to make our documentary style films. And much has changed in that industry. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but I'm going to say a documentary style film back in the 1980s was 90 minutes long. It has gotten progressively shorter. By the time I was making documentary films, when I moved back to New Mexico, they were between 30 and 60 minutes. And of course, now people are happy to watch a documentary style film from 10 to 12 minutes on YouTube. So you got to be really good. But I thought that was a really good question. And honestly, we haven't shared a lot about how we make our short films. So tonight, after I share our video with you from our visit to the IATSE Media Day, I'm going to share a couple of things about how we make our short videos so that you're aware of kind of what transpires in on the back end behind the camera. And I think it'll help you if you decide to do something like this because, well, when we get to that, I'll talk about how excited I am to make documentary films. So the first thing I'm going to do with you is I'm going to share screen and I'm going to share a video that we made documentary style about this, the IATSE film 480, IATSE 480, because they're the hosts, Film and Media Expo that takes place. I'm going to make sure I have the title on. That takes place. If Shelley was here, she could remind me of all this stuff. So, Shelley, but IATSE International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. Thank you. That's what IATSE stands for. So we spent the afternoon there. It went from 12 to 5. There was actually an after party that we were invited to, but we were very cautious because Shelley had already taken the pre operation COVID test, and we didn't want to put that at risk by going to a close. It was different. She wore a mask the entire time. We were at the event, but we didn't want to risk anything by going to a closed space, the bar and restaurant that they were going to afterwards. So next year we should be okay if we go back to when we go back to visit it. All right. Let me share. I'm really trying hard not to say so. Let me share the video with you. I'm going to add it to the stream. And I'm going to open it up full screen on there, and then I'm going to start playing it. So, and I'll mute my microphone while you guys are watching it. Okay, here we go.
Hi, it's Shelley Carney with New Mexico Day Trips, and we're here at the New Mexico Film and Media Open House. It's the first time that they're holding it outdoors. It's the first time in a while since they've had it because of COVID, and we're excited to be here to meet up with friends that we used to be able to hang out with a whole bunch back before COVID, and we haven't seen them in a long time. So we're excited to meet up with them again and to see all of the great booths and things that are going on here. We saw the Breaking Bad Winnebago as we came into the area, and there are booths over here with hair and makeup and costuming and all of the different crafts. And we're just going to have a great time today.
So the fun part about coming to this event, uh, even especially for the fact that we haven't been able to attend this event as a result of COVID for 3 years now. And it used to be held inside the Capitol building in Santa Fe in what they call the Roundhouse. So it's great to be outside. It's great to see all of our friends. We've already run into several of them. The space is much bigger than we expected, but Shelley and I are going to kind of split up here in the next few minutes. We're going to go around, shoot a bunch of B-roll. We've got a great interview with our friend Shaun Scott already that we'll be able to use as a kind of an under voiceover for this. And we want to show you as much as we can about this event. So when they have it next year, hopefully in the same location, hopefully outside, you can make sure you can take the time to attend the event and see how much activity around film in New Mexico is and how important it is to our economy and to the growth of that industry. So we love having you guys here. We'll give you a nice run around or not a run around. We'll give you a nice walk around of what we're here to see.
And we will see you on the other end.
We'll give you an outro on the other side.
I know that.
Hey everybody, this is Toby Eunice with New Mexico Day Trips. My partner Shelley Carney is behind the camera, and we are very fortunate to have found the mayor of Albuquerque, Tim Keller. We've worked together in the past creating promotional videos for him, but we're glad to see him here, and we know that he has great trust in what the film community does for Albuquerque. Mayor Keller, welcome.
Oh, it's great to be here. And this is such a special celebration of our film community. Most importantly, our local film community. You know, a lot of folks forget, like, there are tens of thousands of people now in the film industry in New Mexico. And at least, 20% of them are here today. The film industry represents about 800 million over the last 10 years in economic development. That is an unbelievable number. It is the single highest growth industry in the city of Albuquerque, both for unemployment and for revenue. And of course, it's the reason why we have Netflix right here, their North American studio headquarters, and also NBC Universal, in addition to an awesome IATSE.
I happen to be here with one of our very good friends, Shaun Scott. We've known Shaun for a dozen years now. We worked on projects together, and we were very fortunate
to find him here at the show, but we should have expected it because he's part of the team that's not only organizing but running this event. So Shaun, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Toby. It's so good to see you, man.
It is great to see you, and please pass on our best wishes to your lovely wife, Sue. Let her know that we were here and we think about her a lot.
Most definitely.
So tell us about this event. Just what's it about?
Okay, so what's going on today is we're giving the public a peek behind the drapes, if you would, on what it is like to make a film. And what does that mean to you here? We have 20 major crafts in IATSE Local 480, and of those, there's 110 sub little areas that are there. So what we're doing today is we're having grips. What do grips do? What do hair and makeup do? I'm in locations, and I'm the actual location manager for this set. So this is what happens. A filmmaker comes into town and says, I want to shoot here. And one of the first companies that they come to, one of the first crafts, is locations, because they want to take what's on the written page and turn it into something tangible. So that's why they come to us. That bell that you just heard was letting us know that they're getting ready to shoot a scene on the interior set of the warehouse. So then what I do is search around and find that location, 3 or 4 places that will match up with exactly what they're looking for. Once that is done, they analyze all the photographs and all the pictures that I've taken, and they say, okay, if this one works, then I go and make a deal with the people who live either in the house or in the business. We close down the street as we did out here. We arrange to have pop-ups. We take care of, I like to say we're the ambassadors of the film industry, because we take care of the company and we take care of the public all at the same time. So that's what we do.
How is your relationship with the IATSE 480?
You know, I've been working with IATSE 480 since I got in the state Senate back now 12 years ago. And we worked together primarily on saving the film industry. You know, there was an era about 8 years ago when a lot of the incentives almost disappeared. And myself and IATSE and a couple of other legislators put together the package literally to save it. And so it was the film accountability bill that I ran. And then now as mayor of Albuquerque, of course, supporting it in every way we can. That was also with a lot of other folks, but as mayor, led that charge with our economic development team for Netflix and then for NBC Universal. And so, but making sure that IATSE was a part of that recruitment and of course, part of the employment package. So it's been a long and deep relationship. We actually go way back. It's my old IATSE shirt they gave me like 7 years ago.
Turn
Still
around
got
so
it.
folks can see that.
Still works.
Yeah. So let's come back to this event.
Yes.
How is this event laid out? We're going to go be shooting some B-roll here in a little bit. How is all this laid out so everybody knows?
Toby, great question. As you enter in from the West Gate, you'll see just some of the people and some of the areas that we work with, some of our vendors. And those 2 vendors there is Herc and United Rentals. And you'll see some of our heavy lifting equipment that we use. Sometimes if I'm standing out here all day, I want it to look the same way. So we'll have lights that will be set. We'll also have a shade so it looks the same way all the time. You and I know this because we've been doing this for ages. Next you'll see is Star Wagons. The Star Wagons is where the actors actually sit and relax in between takes. And then we have the Honey Wagon, which amazingly in the early days, why it's called the Honey Wagon is because the portable bathrooms that were in it, to quell the stench, they would pour honey into it to make it a sweeter smell. So that's the Honey Wagons. And then right out in front here, what you will see is a lot of our schools from around the state. We're in Farmington, Las Vegas, oh my God, all over the state. There's different kind of school and or film technician courses that you can get an associate's in applied science, you can get a bachelor's degree, or you can just get a certification so that you can work. That's what's out here.
Day trip shout outs?
Day trips, yes. Do it for us.
So 2 hidden gems, the sand dunes, which are out by the jail. Take my kids there all the time. It's awesome. And the other, I don't even know if you're supposed to be there, by the way, so caveat, but it's cool. And the other one, Algodones. Go there, check out the store, but then also go to the Rio Grande right there. It's like New Mexico's beach. You will see thousands of New Mexicans playing in the Rio Grande in the summer. It's off the hook.
And that was our day at the New Mexico Film and Media Expo. We're so excited to get to be here today. It was very warm, so if you do come in August, make sure you bring water and maybe an umbrella for shade, and just have a great time.
Yeah, extra water is important because it's not a hot day, but as usual, it's dry. And one bottle of water is not going to be enough, so make sure you bring some extra. We were very happy to see a lot of our friends here today. We've been kind of semi-removed from the film industry since 2017, when we started live streaming on YouTube. But it was good to see them, got some invitations. We got an invitation to the Albuquerque Film Expo. We'll get press passes to that. So we'll make sure New Mexico Day Trips gets that. Ivan Weiner, and he's been doing that for, I don't know.
Since 2013.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9 years now. So we get to see that, and we'll bring it to you. But it was a lot of fun. We're glad that you could watch some of it, and we hope you enjoyed the interviews with our friend Shaun Scott and Mayor Tim Keller.
And of course, the Breaking Bad Winnebago that we got to take a little tour of, and we'll tell you more about that as we come up with stuff. Right?
Yeah, maybe one day we'll take the. So they do offer a tour. We know the family that Salazar's. We don't know the family that runs it. They bought the van after the show ended, and of course it's not tainted with methamphetamine stuff. But they bought it, and they do a tour of all the locations that were shown on Breaking Bad. So maybe we'll do that tour one day and bring it to you guys as a New Mexico day trip.
Or I can just, drive by the place in Rio Rancho, which is actually where I go to the doctor, and that was there. That was in the
I
show.
want to go to the house where they throw the pizzas, because people
No, don't go there. They hate people.
people still throw pizzas on top of the family's roof. So
All right, that's all we have for today, and we will see you again next time.
let me close this window over here, because I do want to show you some other things. Where am I? Oops, hold on. Confusion reigns. See, when Shelley's here, I don't have these problems. We don't have these problems because she's keeping me on track. So I wanted to do a couple of things. Number one, I wanted to answer the gentleman's question about some of our work. And I'm going to do it, I think, by sharing another screen with you over here. I think this is probably the best way to do this. Give me 1 second. Okay, but you can't see me, so let me do that. Okay. Let me do this first. All right. So I have been using the same strategy for doing documentary films since 1980, when I first started Video Tarot as a business, independent contractor to the intelligence community. And they would hire me to make documentaries, right? Or journalistic style work. My first was in Nairobi, Kenya, and it was to basically document the building of the Russian embassy in Nairobi, Kenya. And I did 200 projects for them over life. And over time, I developed a strategy for doing a documentary. And it was this kind of simple strategy. It basically said that once you gave me an idea, once you gave me a topic, or an objective or a mission that involved me making a documentary, what I asked for next was the 10 people who are experts in that area, right? Or the 10 people that I should be talking to. And then I would write a list of 10 questions that I would ask each one of those people. Then I would interview each of those people with the 10 questions. So they all answered the same question, but they answered it from their own perspective, right? So it wasn't always, the answers were not always the same, even though the questions were. And it was a storyline. So the question started with, what's your background, right? Why are we doing this interview? And then after that, after I asked those 10 people those 10 questions, I'd go back and I'd review the answers, and I would start shooting what is referred to as B-roll or overlay material that supported what they were talking about. Now, that didn't necessarily mean that I was going to use, all 100 responses. So I'd break it up. There would be I'd always pick one person that was kind of the lead energy in the documentary. And then I would pick uh, 3 people for each. So I'd pick the 3 best responses for question number 1, the 3 best responses for question number 2, the 3 best response. And again, I use this strategy to build out the documentary with their responses, and then I would add the B-roll on top of their responses. The benefit was that I never had to write a script. Now, I know that sounds funny that you wouldn't write a script for a documentary. I have a very good friend that I did 2 documentaries with, Janet Bridgers. I've talked about her before. We did the documentary on the 1969 Santa Barbara oil spill, and then we did the documentary on the 1972 California law, Proposition 20, that established the California Coastal Commission. But she had scripts for those. She wrote the first one, I think, was around 30 minutes, and the second one was 60 minutes. She wrote and she read those scripts as part of the overlay when we didn't have people answering questions, talking, because we interviewed a bunch of people for both of those. So, and the reason that Janet and I got together was that she attended a course that I was teaching called Shoestring Documentaries, how you make how you make your first documentary. And it was consisted of 10 classes. And about the 5th class, she came up to me afterwards and she said, I will never be able to do all of this. Janet is my age. She said, I'll never be able to do all this. Why don't we figure out how to do this together? And it was easy how to figure it out. It was good. She was funded and I was happy to work with her. And as a matter of fact, we're still very good friends. So, but the key is, first to have a strategy, second to have a set of questions. Now, as you can see, on the way over there, on the way to for Shelley and I driving over there, our plan was to shoot this, then to come back to the studio and write a script for it. Once I got there, I realized that we were going to have lots of options for interviews, even though I didn't plan any of the questions. I can always wing it to some extent. You'll hear me stutter a little bit, but generally speaking, I get the questions I want. Now, both of those interviews went significantly longer than the elements that you saw in the documentary short. I could have made this documentary 30 minutes long because of the answers, the questions and answers that we went through with both our good friend Shaun Scott and our friend Mayor Tim Keller. So we didn't have to write a script. It was written for us because we had folks who were answering our questions, and then so we did that, and we had enough for to make this documentary short. Now, Shelley and I have talked about this before. I could make a half-hour documentary if I wanted. I could make a 1-hour documentary if I wanted on pretty much any subject. Assuming I could find 10 people who are considered knowledgeable in that area. I don't think that works on YouTube. I think we're going to limit them to 10 to 15 minutes in terms of what we share with you and what we plan to show on this channel. But I don't want to spend a lot of time in the editing bay because that can get cumbersome. A 60-minute, you can always count that a 60-minute, a 1-hour documentary is going to be 20 hours in the editing bay. That's just kind of a rough estimate that you can expect that to happen. And that's assuming you did all the work as the cinematographer, the filmmaker, maybe even the director, and maybe even the producer, and you have a script. If you don't have those things, if you didn't do those things, it's going to take you significantly longer because somebody else will have done it, and you won't have any idea how they put it all together. Or, I mean, they do follow rules. I shouldn't be that critical. But it's a lot easier when you do it all yourselves. So what I want to do basically is show you what equipment we used for this program, for the video that you just saw, what equipment we used, and what we shot in order to put it together. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to actually show you our video editing application so you can see the layout. We're not going to go through it in detail because everybody has different ones. This happens to be the one that we use and happens to be my personal favorite. I've used it literally since it first came out. I think Shelley has version 20 now. I'm at version 17 just because I'm too lazy to edit. I mean to install it, and I've been using it since version 1. And it's okay. It's not high end. It's not going to compete with some of the bigger products like Vegas, but it's based on Vegas. It's made by Sony. It's based on Vegas. Actually, Magix owns the rights to it now, and it's based on Vegas. So when I do use Vegas, it's very comfortable for me, but it does what I want. So let me share this screen with you. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what we collected in the way of content. So I'm going to add that up there. We'll put it, I'm going to stay at the side right here. I'm going to stay this way. Okay, so I'm going to open up the screen. I'm going to have to slide over here. So I may be off camera just a little bit, but I'm going to slide over in this direction so I could open up this screen. Hang on, we want to go back to details. Listen. All right, and then can I open that? I thought I could open the screen a little bit more. Nope. All right, I'll do it this way. Do it with extra large icons. So let's start with the extra stuff over here. This is the video editing file. It's what's Magix Studio produces. So that's the file that if I were to open it up right now, and I already have it open, so I'm going to share it with you. That's the file I would open to start editing the video or re-edit the video. This file right here is the actual video file that's produced when you render it. All these other folders, I don't know whether let me see if I can get them to do something. All these other folders you can see are in alphabetical order, and they contain all the material that we shot on that day. And there's probably between Shelley and I, we probably shot an hour total worth of material. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the equipment we used. So the first thing that you saw was a drone shot. Come back to full screen here so you can see this. So you saw that drone shot at the beginning of the video. And hang on, I want to open this all over again so it doesn't have those black things here. That's going to do it anyway. I don't know why. So the first thing that we used that you saw in the video was a drone shot. It was a very short drone shot. It was around 15 seconds in. That means I flew into the thing and then 15 seconds out. We knew that we didn't have a lot of time for a drone shot, and because it was over a group of people, we didn't want to get over the group of people with the drone because that makes them nervous, even though I could if I wanted to. So the drone that we use is the Mavic Air 2. There is a newer model out, but this does what we wanted to do. It shoots 4K 60p, meaning 60 frames a second, and 100 kilobits, 100,000 bits per second of data transfer. So very capable, and it's very stable. It looks like it's on a tall tripod, honestly, when I see that material. So that's the first thing that we used was the drone. The second thing that we used to do interviews was the DJI Pocket 2. It's basically the same camera that's on the drone, on the Mavic, and the same gimbal. So it's a 3-way gimbal. I don't know, do I have a battery in it? Let's see. So you'll see it pop around here. Once I turn it on, it just starts doing a little. Battery's dead. Yeah, we used up all the battery. It has an internal battery. It's very compact, and it's very stable. We use it for interviews because I want to make clear the Pocket 2 has two versions. One is the plain Pocket 2, which is this part. The other is the Pocket Creative Combo, which includes a lot of other stuff, including this frame right here, which is the frame that gives you Bluetooth and wireless communications. But it also comes with this microphone. Now, the company that makes the drone is DJI. And they're the ones that have been making drone. They've been making, I think my first DJI drone was 2012, the Phantom. They also make this camera. They also make a microphone that goes wirelessly to this camera. So it's very easy when you're doing, you'll see that I held it in my hand and we do interviews just by going back and forth. A very complete, very competent camera. And then after we used it to shoot the interviews, and then after we shot the interviews, Shelley took it and she started shooting B-roll. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 was, and I'm going to share this with you. I'm tripping over my cord here. So this is the Osmo Plus. This was version 2 of this, made by the same company. They just made it progressively smaller and more compact and more complete, so you didn't have to add stuff to it. This doesn't have a screen. The big one doesn't have a screen on it. You have to use a smartphone. This one, of course, you can use a smartphone, but there's a screen right there, so you can actually see what you're shooting. But you can see the difference in size. And this one, I have a tripod on so I can stand it up, but let me put them next to each other so you can see the difference in size between the two. Version 2, the Osmo Plus Pocket, DJI Pocket 2. So there's actually this is the second version of the smaller one. This was the second version of the bigger one. But I haven't given it up because I love it. It has pretty much the same sensor as this. Both of these have optical 3x zooms, not digital zooms. They actually have optical zooms in them, so they shoot great footage, and you can zoom in from the equivalent of 23 degrees wide angle to 85 degrees telephoto. So that's why it's so easy to do shots. Very compact, very integrated. The other benefit to this is it takes a replaceable battery. So I have 4 of those batteries and I can change them out. This has the battery in it. So there are once that battery is gone, you have to recharge it. So you can't buy these from DJI anymore, but you can sometimes find them on eBay. When they were first brought out, they were about $900. And now you can find them on eBay for $200 to $300 in pretty good condition. People could take good care of them. So one of the other options for doing interviews that we do take with us, but didn't this time, is the Lumix G100. That's a mirrorless camera made by Panasonic. It is actually referred to as a vlogging camera. So the nice thing about it is you can put it on a tripod and you can control it over here. You can see what you're doing over here, but even better, it comes with an application that you can run from your smartphone. And that way you can be standing away from the camera and controlling it through your smartphone. You don't have to be behind the camera. That's why Shelley and I can be on camera together. So that's very convenient for doing interviews. It's not great for doing B-roll because you want B-roll, lots of motion. You would rather have a camera that has a stabilizer on it. It does have a internal stabilizer, but it's nowhere near as good as either of the Osmo, either of the handheld stabilizers. We have the Osmo Plus or the Pocket 2. One of the pieces of equipment we take with us and sometimes use when we want, we didn't have the time to use it right now. I'm going to pull out the headphones. These are headphones to go with it. This is the Cinco, S-Y. It's not Spanish. Cinco is in Spanish is C-I-N-C-O. It's S-Y-N-C-O, Cinco. Wireless transmitter and wireless receiver and 2 transmitters. That means we can clip these on. They also come with lavalier microphones, but it's rare that we use them. It's just a setup issue. Once you add the lavalier, it's another minute's worth of setup, but they're very good audio. They can handle the kind of audio that we were shooting with yesterday. They do plug into the Pocket. They do plug into the Osmo Plus, and they do plug into the Panasonic Lumix G100. So we also take with us at least one tripod. We've never seen the need for more. That way we can set the camera up on the tripod, control it while we're standing in front of it, making those. You saw our intro and outro. Camera was on the tripod. We were standing, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet in front of it, and then we were making remote transmitter to receiver kind of audio. So that's the equipment that we use. Let me go back to this screen, and so all of that shooting resulted in this effort, and I'll open each one at a time just so you can see how much footage we shot. The first thing that we shot were our intro. We started with our interview with Shaun Scott, but normally this is how you do it. So you make, is that as big as we can get it? So we made our intro video and our outro video. Now, sometimes we can do them at the same time. We can do the intro, for example, when we did the Spanish market. We did the intro and the outro at the same time, and we did the intro and the outro after we had been at Spanish market. So we shoot the intro with one background, and then we move 10 feet and we shoot the outro with another background. This one, when we got there and we saw Shaun Scott, so we decided to interview him first. Then we shot the intro, and then we waited until the end to shoot the outro. Because again, what we were planning to do for this particular program was we were going to come back to the studio and write a script, but we were very fortunate to get a couple of good interviews, which means that we didn't have to write a script. We went to dinner afterwards, and we went to Five Guys because I like Five Guys. And then I dropped Shelley off, and I came back and started the editing process. So this right here is our intro. This right here is our outro. Now you can see I've organized all these into folders, starting with IATSE. So that's the big folder. 20. I use a date 2022. 0828 IATSE 480 Film and TV Expo. It should be Film and Media Expo. That's what confused me. So we shot the intro and outro, and then in this case, we did quick interviews. The interviews that we did were first with Shaun Scott, and that's because we saw him there. We expected him to be there simply because he is a member of the union of IATSE 480. But we also knew that because he's in locations, he might have a kind of starring role in all of this. And sure enough, he did. He was one of the organizers and coordinators that pulled this all together. So we did a great interview with him. It was good to see him. We hadn't seen him in a couple of months. Actually, it's probably been longer than a couple of months. He's a regular over at my place for dinner and cocktails and just parties in general. And then I saw Mayor Keller, and he was surrounded by an entourage. And the first thing that I did was I asked one of the members of the entourage if we could interview him. And of course, they're always hesitant to do this. Members of his entourage or any other politician's entourage are hesitant to do this because they don't know what they're going to get asked. They want to know why. What was really funny is when I told this member, so I asked this member if he could interview. I said we were going to put it on our YouTube channel. The person asked me the name of the YouTube channel, and I said New Mexico Day Trips. And she went like this, and she said, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that." So I know there are no other New Mexico Day Trips, and we just started this channel, but it was good. And that happened more than once during the entire event, where we would say we were with Shelley did it. It happened to Shelley, and it happened to me. Where we would say, "Oh, New Mexico Day Trips," and people would say, "Oh yeah, I've heard of you. I've heard of that." We've only been up for a week and a half and didn't have any real content up yet. So we interviewed him, and those interviews were, as you can see, in a separate folder. So then after we had done the 2 interviews and we realized it wouldn't be necessary to shoot or to write a script, we just decided to split up and shoot some B-roll. So we used 2 different cameras. I took the Osmo Plus because it's the camera that I've used the longest. I wouldn't want to put it on Shelley because it's just an older camera. There's more effort required in kind of managing what you're doing with it. So I took and I shot this B-roll, and kind of our rule for shooting B-roll is that anywhere between 15 and 30 seconds. right? You don't want to spend a lot of time. You want to capture the scene. And so basically what we did is we walked through the event and captured these variety of scenes. You remember it from the video. This one, let's see, what's most memorable. So the car. So let me see how long this was. This was 31 seconds long, and I'm going to open it here. Let's see if it opens in the right window here. I hope it doesn't pop over. It's going to pop over here. So all I'm doing with this is I'm not, I try to get background noise. The problem was there was a guy playing dance music and you can hear that, but it's rare that any of this audio gets into the finished product. So I just wanted to document what they call one of the movie cars, right? And there's two of them actually, the one with the moving crane and the one with the car, the black one with the car that you saw first is the one that they put the driver on. Let me show you again right here. So that's the one that they put the driver in. So when they're making a film with somebody that's driving a car, that's what they use. And then this person is riding along, and this person right here is on the trailer, attached to the trailer. You can see the car isn't actually driving. It's riding on a trailer and it's being towed. And then this person sitting in here is like in control of what's happening in the car in terms of audio and filmmaking, although it's digital. It's all digital now. Not a lot of people do film anymore. And then the other vehicle here, the one that you see with the big crane on top, is the one that does the exterior shots. The ones that you see where you see the car driving it looks like 100 miles an hour. It isn't. They tow them. They don't actually have people driving on the road, although in less expensive bills. But this is a company whose sole purpose in life, the company is called Pursuit, and its sole purpose in life is to provide cars and drivers that support the filmmakers doing this kind of work. So that was worth, for me, shooting 30 seconds worth of that so that I could incorporate, I think that the shot was probably 6 to 10 seconds long eventually, but we shoot all that. So I'm shooting all that B-roll with a stabilized camera, right? And I'm just trying to get the best shot that I can from 15 to 30 seconds so that I can take one or more clips from that in order to put it in as B-roll with the overlay. Okay. So at the same time I'm doing that, Shelley is doing the same thing with the pocket. And she is really good at getting this kind of material. One of the things that they had was they walked you through, so I can find it right here. They walked you through a film, a faux film making set. And Shelley just kept her camera on. That's what you see. It's 4 minutes and 55 seconds long. But she made sure that she just followed the effort. This is a fake set that they set up that they tried to show. Here's what it's like making a film. They had a room with two detectives and a woman that detectives were interviewing. But what I thought was kind of interesting is this is one of the few things that you'll see, one of the few elements that you'll see where it shows all the people in the background that are not in front of the camera. There are dozens, and for bigger films, there are even more than dozens. In this case, it was a setup that they made in order to show the people that were at this event. We went into this large studio that's on the IATSE campus. We went into this large studio with about, I think, 20 other people, and they lined us up. They showed us where to stand. And then each time they would go through this effort of showing what it's like to shoot a scene. And in the scene, there was three actors, two acting as police officers, and one was the subject. And then the cameraman and the support, the assistant cameraman, were in the thing. You'll see. Let me go back here so you can see. You'll see the microphone, right? The boom mic is held by. Right there, he's holding it overhead. To me, right there, you see it. But eventually he has to hold it overhead. I'm going to see if Shelley got some of that. Let's see. So they're still just trying to set up the shot at this point. And that's how it takes. I mean, there's a lot of effort. There's your boom mic holder. And that job is the hardest job in the world because you hold it over your head like that for as long as the shot takes. And they set the slate. That person went in, set the slate, and that synchronizes the film, if you will, the digital video and the audio, so that when somebody goes to edit that, they can put the two together, and that slate sound is the mark that they use. So that's what the camera sees right there. And then you can see our boom mic friend with the strongest shoulders in the world, because that's where it starts hurting. It starts hurting up here in your shoulders. Holds the boom mic so that they can do that. They had this set up for us, um, so that we and other guests could go there today. So it was important for us to capture that material. What you just saw right there was Shelley using the zoom feature. It has a 3x zoom on the pocket to zoom in, and because it's an optical zoom, it you don't see any. It's the same resolution as what she had before. So that's just one of the scenes that she shot. And I'm going to scroll through this and you can see all the footage. Well, let me do it this way. I'm going to do it with small icons. So you can see all the footage that Shelley shot while she was walking around. She actually shot more clips than I did. So that gave me all the material that I needed in order to put together a short, our 12-minute film, right? And the elements that we used were B-roll from the Osmo, B-roll from the Pocket, the interviews, the intro and outro, the Mavic Air, the drone footage, some photos that we had, right? That we decided we try to take as many photos as we can that we have time for in case we have to use them. And the one that I ended up having to use with this one right here, and then we use this on our Instagram accounts. This was a woman whose name I'm not going to remember. Shelley's going to have to remind me. Who we made a film with Shelley that Shelley wrote called Comfort, and it was a fun film to shoot. She actually hasn't changed that much, but she's always in background in a lot of the films that we see. So we shoot photos, and sometimes we use the cameras. Both the Osmo Plus and the Pocket 2 can switch between video and photo mode. So if you want, you have the same quality. Like I said, it's a 40 megapixel image that's created. So you can just flip over and you can start just shooting photos and add that to your collection in case you need the photos for later. So we do had some photos, and then did I skip everything? So that's the drone. Oh, and then music. And I usually download a couple of pieces of music. In this case was the opener, which is that guitar solo, the opening piece. And then I had something called I'm sorry, I reversed that. So the opener was this slow acoustic, and then the trailer background was this golden present. And both of those are copyright free. So I downloaded them from YouTube Audio, which allows that. You can actually download audio from there to put behind your videos without having to worry about whether you're collecting it. So that's the equipment we used. That's the strategy that we used. And then finally, all of that, I'm going to close this window here, ends up in here. And that's the editing tool. And you can see it has 7 layers or 8 layers. It has 8 layers. So I need to shrink this up just a little bit so you can see it. Oh, it's not cooperating. There it is. Oh, missed it. Hang on. Okay. So it has 8 layers. It has a text layer. It has the logo layer. It has a second logo layer because there was a layer for the video itself, and then there was a second layer that I had to put in the at the end in the end card. Then it has the overlay layer, video and audio. Then it has the A roll, the primary. This is the interviews, video and audio, and then it has a musical layer. And what I've done is I make this right here. You can make custom bins, and I'm going to open that up, and you'll see I have bins for music, drone, logo, intro and outro, interviews, Osmo Plus, Pocket 2, and photos. That way, all I do is copy those, not copy it, it makes a copy. It doesn't drag it over of those videos that we collected, those clips that we collected, and I put them in the same folders. And that way I know exactly where everything is and I can lay it into the stream. And what I usually do is I decide on my video layer, right? What am I going to do in terms of interviews? So right here, you can see this is our, you can see it up here. This is our intro, then our conversation with the mayor, our conversation with, and I just alternate those things so that they're adding. And then as I move along, I start deciding what pieces of, what of those clips from the B-roll do I need to put in. So it took me, I'm going to say 2 hours worth of editing time to put this together. For a 12-minute, that sounds like a lot, but normally 12 minutes worth of video, I usually multiply it by 20, would be 240 divided by, so 4 hours. So it took me about half the time to edit this, mostly because of the planning that we put into it and what we collected, and because we didn't have to write a script. So that helped a lot. Anyway, for that gentleman, and you know who you are, who asked us to share this, and we'll continue to do this. We'll give you some behind the scenes because you know, you all know a lot about how we do. I've got to move over from that. How we do our live streams, because we've shared that with you. You've seen videos on, you know, and even if you have, even if it's not been on our AGK or News and Views or M&M channel, we've done a lot of that on how we live stream. We haven't done much on how we do what's referred to as field work, out in the field, out of the studio, and video recording, video and audio recording, and then bringing it back and turning it into some kind of product. I hope that gives you a little bit of a view behind the scenes. So I was going to offer to take some calls tonight, but it is a slow night. Heather Antonio, that was the lady that I was telling you about. And as I said, we shot a movie. I did the direction and camera work on a movie called Comfort, little short that we did, a narrative short that Shelley wrote the script for. So anyway, we'll continue to share our behind the scenes for our field work so that you guys get a sense of how we do what we do. We don't claim to be the best at this. We don't claim to be the expert at it. We do what works for us because we have a limited amount of, we don't have a crew. All the work that you see done in all of these is me and or Shelley and me. And so we have to do it in a way that kind of protects our time, still leaves us time to enjoy our lives, and to make sure that every Wednesday night we have something to share with you, and we'll continue to do that. Now, Shelley is going to be off for at least a week, and then we'll make a decision then. I don't know whether she'll be able to get out this weekend to do something. I do have plans to do something that we'll show next Wednesday. Whether she can go or not, I would prefer that she could, but I'm not going to ask her to do that until she feels confident and comfortable that that she wants to do that kind of thing. So we will have something next week. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't know. I have 3 different choices. Real quickly, let me bring you up to date on the budget, voting on a budget project. So my plan was to open up the garage by taking down the shelving enough so that I could park my car in the garage and park the boat. Well, what happened was I was kind of concerned about driving the car to boat launches and some of the places. So I traded my car in on a truck, a 4-wheel drive truck, very similar to the one that I had before I owned the car. It's also a Nissan. It's also a Frontier, but it's a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and it doesn't fit into the garage. I got the 6-foot bed instead of the 5-foot bed because I wanted the longer length, and so it doesn't fit into the garage anymore. That means the garage will be basically for the boat. So I'm going to put my shelving back up. I'm going to be doing that on Friday, put the shelving back up. By that time, the motor mount that I was planning to build, I decided to buy for 2 reasons. Number 1, I couldn't use that wood for it. And number 2, as usual, Amazon knew I was in some kind of mess, and so they offered me a deal. I don't know how they know that. I don't tell. It's not like I go to Alexa and say, you know, Alexa, I really could buy an outboard motor stand if Amazon, if Amazon gave me a good price. I've never said that, so, but somehow they know. So they offer me a good price. I'm a sucker for a good price. I think this was like a 52% discount, right? And then I had points. I had Amazon points, so the dang thing cost me $13 by the time it was all over. So I bought it. I'll have that here Friday. I'll also have the tachometer here Friday. I'll put that together. But I'm also going to, since I've got all the room that I want in the garage, I'm also going to start building the frame. I'm sorry, the trailer this weekend. So I may have some video. I'm not going to force you to watch me building a trailer, but I will shoot a little bit of video so you can see the progress. So also the other thing that I need to do this weekend is the outboard requires that you fill it with gear oil, with motor oil, and it requires a 10-hour break-in. And what I've learned is that unlike a car where you can drive 50, 55 and break it in, boats are a pain to break in on the water. So what I generally do is I just break it in my backyard, right? Because all you have to do is put it in a big bucket and it works fine. And it's not loud enough that the neighbors get upset with you breaking in your motor. So that's where we are with that. We're making progress. Like I said, my goal is to have it on the water by the end of September at the latest. And then we'll decide where to go from there because we want to try it out and a bunch of other things too. So I think that is everything for tonight. I don't have an outro yet. I will eventually. But thanks for joining me tonight. And if you want to send Shelley your get well greetings, you can send an email to Shelley at New Mexico Day Trips. And I'm sorry, Shelley at nmdaytrips.com, and she'll get it. All right. Okay, you guys, thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed our video from the New Mexico. Oh, darn, I just got here. You know what, Lorraine? It will be on in just a few minutes. You'll be able to rewatch it. In addition to that, I have uploaded the video by itself. So you'll see it up there, and I changed the title. So the title on this program will be live stream, and then the name of the event that we attended, and the other will be video and the name of the tent. And the difference, of course, is going to be this is a 1 hour plus long video. That one is around 12, 13 minutes. So you can just watch that if you don't watch me talking about all this other stuff. Okay. If you guys have any questions, add them to the comments. If there are other things that you'd like to know about what we're doing behind the scenes, or some of the tools that we use, or some of the techniques and methods and methodologies that we use, make sure you ask a question in the comment, and I will take that, incorporate it into our next program on Wednesday of next week. Shelley will not be on Women Conquer Business tonight at 11, but Jen has a really good show on drop shipping. She happens to be an expert in it. She helps other people build their drop shipping businesses. I'm going to be watching it because I have an interest in it. And then I'll be alone. I'll be on at 1 o'clock with Messages and Methods. And we're going to be doing an interview on that show. And the gentleman is an expert in financial management and preparation for retirement, focused on your retirement and how to prepare for that. So it's a really smart guy and has a lot of information. So we're going to be talking about that on Messages and Methods. Why is that important? Because if you're going to be an encore entrepreneur, you got to be able to you have to be able to afford to be an encore entrepreneur. And one of the ways to do that is to ensure the integrity of your retirement plan. All right. I miss Shelley not being here, but she is kind of here in the chat room, but I wish she was sitting next to me. Anyway, we're hoping that she'll be back next week, but we are not going to force it. She will take as much time as she needs to recover. And if that's longer than 2 weeks, then it's longer than, well, if it's longer than 1 week, hopefully it's not longer than 2 weeks. But if it is longer than 2 weeks, okay, that's what it'll be. And I'll be doing shows along. But I will continue to hope that she's back and better and we're working together again. All right. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for joining me. I don't have an outro. So I'm just going to do the old hang up on you. I feel bad about this, guys. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to end the broadcast because I'll have an outro for you the next time. Okay. You guys have a great night. Don't forget, we love you.